Lombardy, 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 is one of the 20 administrative regions of Italy in the northwest of the country with an area of 23,844 square kilometers. About 10 million people, or a sixth of Italy's population, lives in Lombardy, and about a fifth of Italy's GDP is produced in the region, making it the most populous and richest region in the country and one of the richest regions in Central Europe. Milan, Lombardy's capital, is the second largest city and the largest metropolitan area in Italy. Etymology. The word Lombardy comes from Lombard, which in turn is derived from late Latin Longobardis, Langobardis, derived from the Proto-Germanic elements *langus plus *bardas, equivalent to long beard. Some sources derived the second element instead from Proto-Germanic *bard, *bardas, related to German barter. Lombardy referred during the early Middle Ages to the entire territory of Italy ruled by the Lombards, a Germanic tribe who conquered much of the Italian peninsula beginning in the 6th century. During the late Middle Ages, the term shifted meaning and was used to identify the whole of northern Italy. Geography. With a surface of 23,861 square kilometers, Lombardy is the fourth largest region of Italy. It is bordered by Switzerland and by the Italian regions of Trentino Alto Adige, Sud Tyrol and Veneto, Emilia-Romagna, and Piedmont. Three distinct natural zones can be fairly easily distinguished in the Lombardy region: mountains, hills and plains, the latter being divided in Alta and Bassa. Soils. The orography of Lombardy is characterized by the presence of three distinct belts: a northern mountainous belt constituted by the Alpine reliefs, a central Piedmont area of mostly pebbly soils of alluvial origin, and the Lombard section of the Padane Plain in the southernmost part of the region. The most important mountainous area is an alpine zone including the Lepontine and Rhaetian Alps, the Bergamo Alps, the Ortlev Alps and the Adamello Massif. It is followed by an alpine foothills zone Prealpi, which include the main peaks of the Grigna group, Riscon and Presolana. The plains of Lombardy, formed by alluvial deposits, can be divided into the Alta, an upper, permeable ground zone in the north, and a lower zone, the Bassa, dotted by the so-called line of Fontanili, spring waters rising from impermeable ground. Inconsistent with the three distinctions above made is the small subregion of Oltrepo Pavese, formed by the Apennine foothills beyond the Po River. Hydrography. The mighty Po River marks the southern border of the region for a length of about 210 kilometers. In its progress, it receives the waters of the Ticino, which rises in the Bedretta Valley and joins the Po near Pavia. The other streams which contribute to the great river are the Olona, the Lambro, the Adda, the Oglio and the Mincio. The numerous lakes of Lombardy, all of glacial origin, lie in the northern highlands. From west to east, these are Lake Maggiore, Lake Lugano, Lake Como, Lake Iseo, Lake Idro, then Lake Garda, the largest in Italy. South of the Alps lie the hills characterized by a succession of low heights of morainic origin, formed during the last ice age, and small, barely fertile plateau, with typical heaths and conifer woods. A minor mountainous area, the Oltrepo Pavese, lies south of the Po, in the Apennines range. Flora and fauna in the plains, intensively cultivated for centuries, little of the original environment remains. The most common trees are elm, alder, sycamore, poplar, willow and hornbeam. In the area of the foothills lakes, however, grow olive trees, cypresses and larches, as well as varieties of subtropical flora such as magnolias, azaleas, acacias. Numerous species of endemic flora in the pre-alpine area include some kinds of saxifrage, the Lombard garlic, groundsels bellflowers and the cottony bellflowers. The highlands are characterized by the typical vegetation of the whole range of the Italian Alps. At a lower levels oakwoods or broadleaf trees grow. On the mountain slopes beech trees grow at the lowest limits, with conifer woods higher up. Shrubs such as rhododendron, dwarf pine and juniper are native to the summital zone. Lombardy counts many protected areas. The most important are the Stelvio National Park, with typically alpine wildlife, red deer, roe deer, ibex, chamois, foxes, ermine and also golden eagles, and the Ticino Valley Natural Park, instituted in 1974 on the Lombard side of the Ticino River to protect and conserve one of the last major examples of fluvial forest in northern Italy. Climate: Lombardy has a wide array of climates, due to local variances in elevation, proximity to inland water basins, and large metropolitan areas. The climate of the region is mainly humid subtropical, especially in the plains, though with significant variations to the Köppen model, especially regarding the winter season, that in Lombardy is normally long, rainy and rather cold. In addition, there is a high seasonal temperature variation and 24 degrees Celsius in July. A peculiarity of the regional climate is the thick fog that covers the plains between October and February. In the Alpine foothills, characterized by an oceanic climate, numerous lakes exercise a mitigating influence, allowing the cultivation of typically Mediterranean crops. In the hills and mountains, the climate is humid continental. In the valleys it is relatively mild, while it can be severely cold above 1,500 Mt, with copious snowfalls. Precipitation is more intense in the pre-alpine zone, up to 1,500 to 2,000 mm annually, but is abundant also in the plains and alpine zones, with an average of 600 to 850 mm annually. The total annual rainfall is on average 827 mm. History. Prehistory and antiquity. The area of current Lombardy was settled at least since the 2nd millennium BC, as shown by the archaeological findings of ceramics, arrows, axes and carved stones. Well-preserved rock drawings left by ancient Camuni in the Val Camonica depicting animals, people and symbols were made over a time period of 8,000 years preceding the Iron Age, and 300,000. The many artifacts found in necropolis near the Lake Maggiore and Lake Ticino demonstrate the presence of the Golasecca Bronze Age culture that prospered in western Lombardy between the 9th and the 4th century. BC. In the following centuries it was inhabited by different peoples, among whom the Etruscans. These people settled in several cities and extended their rule to the Adriatic Sea. Their development was halted by the Roman expansion in the Po Valley from the 3rd century BC onwards. After centuries of struggle, in 194 BC the entire area of what is now Lombardy became a Roman province with the name of Gallia Cisalpina of the Alps. The Roman culture and language overwhelmed the former civilization in the following years, and Lombardy became one of the most developed and rich areas of Italy, with the construction of a wide array of roads and the development of agriculture and trade. Important figures like Pliny the Elder and Virgil were born here. In late antiquity, the strategic role of Lombardy was emphasized by the temporary moving of the capital of the Western Empire to Mediolanum, the kingdom of the Lombards. During and after the fall of the Western Empire, Lombardy suffered heavily from destruction brought about by a series of invasions by tribal peoples. The last and most effective was that of the Germanic Lombards, or Longobardi, who came around the 570s and whose long-lasting reign gave the current name to the region. There was a close relationship between the Frankish, Bavarian and Lombard nobility for many centuries. After the initial struggles, relationships between the Lombard people and the Latin-speaking people improved. In the end, the Lombard language and culture assimilated with the Latin culture, leaving evidence in many names, the legal code and laws, and other things. The end of Lombard rule came in 774, when the Frankish king Charlemagne conquered Pavia, deposed Desiderius, the last Lombard king, and annexed the kingdom of Italy to his empire. The former Lombard dukes and nobles were replaced by other German vassals, prince-bishops or marquises. The communes in the empire in the 10th century. Lombardy, formerly under the rule of the Holy Roman Empire, like much of central northern Italy, was in fact divided in a multiplicity of small, autonomous city-states, the medieval communes. The 11th century marked a significant boom in the region's economy, due to improved trading and, mostly, agricultural conditions. In a similar way to other areas of Italy, this led to a growing self-acknowledgement of the cities, whose increasing richness made them able to defy the traditional feudal supreme power, represented by the German emperors and their local legates. This process reached its apex in the 12th and 13th centuries, when different Lombard leagues formed by allied cities of Lombardy, usually led by Milan, managed to defeat the Hohenstaufen Emperor Frederick I at Legnano, and his grandson Frederick II at Parma. Subsequently, among the various local city-states, a process of consolidation took place, and by the end of the 14th century, two signorias emerged as rival hegemons in Lombardy: Milan and Mantua. The Renaissance duchies of Milan and Mantua. In the 15th century, the Duchy of Milan was a major political, economical and military force at the European level. Milan and Mantua became two centers of the Renaissance whose culture, with men such as Leonardo da Vinci and Mantegna, and works of art were highly regarded. The enterprising class of the communes extended its trade and banking activities well into northern Europe. Lombard designated the merchant or banker coming from northern Italy. The name Lombardy came to designate the whole of northern Italy until the 15th century and sometimes later. From the 14th century onwards, the instability created by the unceasing internal and external struggles ended in the creation of noble seigneuries, the most significant of which were those of the Viscontis in Milan of the Gonzagas in Mantua. This richness, however, attracted the now more organized armies of national powers such as France and Austria, which waged a lengthy battle for Lombardy in the late 15th early 16th century. Modern era. After the decisive Battle of Pavia, the Duchy of Milan became a possession of the Habsburgs of Spain. The new rulers did little to improve the economy of Lombardy, instead imposing a growing series of taxes needed to support their unending series of European wars. The eastern part of modern Lombardy, with cities like Bergamo and Brescia, was under the Republic of Venice, which had begun to extend its influence in the area from the 14th century onwards. Between the middle of the 15th century and the Battle of Marignano in 1515, the northern part of East Lombardy from Airolo to Chiasso, and the Valtellina Valley came under possession of the old Swiss Confederacy. Pestilences and the generally declining conditions of Italy's economy in the 17th and 18th centuries halted the further development of Lombardy. In 1706, the Austrians came to power and introduced some economic and social measures which granted a certain recovery. Austrian rule was interrupted in the late 18th century by the French armies. Under Napoleon, Lombardy became the center of the Cisalpine Republic and of the Kingdom of Italy, both being puppet states of France's First Empire, having Milan as capital and Napoleon as head of state. During this period, Lombardy took back Valtellina from Switzerland. The restoration of Austrian rule in 1815, as the Kingdom of Lombardy-Venetia, was characterized by the struggle with the new ideals introduced by the Napoleonic era. Lombardy became one of the intellectual centers leading the Italian unification process. The Popular Republic established by the 1848 revolution was short-lived, its suppression leading to renewed Austrian rule. This came to a decisive end when Lombardy was annexed to the Kingdom of Italy 1859 as a result of the Second Italian Independence War. When annexed to the Kingdom of Italy in 1859, Lombardy achieved its present-day territorial shape by adding the Oltrepo Pavese to the province of Pavia. Starting from the late 19th century, and especially with the economic boom of the 1950s-1960s, Lombardy sharpened its status of richest and most industrialized region of Italy. Demographics. 1/6 of the Italian population, or about 10 million people, live in Lombardy, making it the second most densely populated region in Italy after Campania, with a strong concentration in the Milan metropolitan area and the Alpine foothills areas of the provinces of Varese, Como, Lecco, Monza and Brianza and Bergamo, a lower average density in the Po Valley and the lower Brescia valleys, and much lower densities in the northern mountain areas and the southern Oltrepo-Pavese subregion. The growth of the regional population was particularly sustained during the 1950s-60s, thanks to a prolonged economic boom, high birth rates, and strong immigration flows. During the last 2 decades, Lombardy became the destination of a large number of international migrants, insomuch that today more than a quarter of all foreign-born residents in Italy lives in this region. As of 2014, the Italian National Institute of Statistics estimated that 1,152,320 foreign-born immigrants live in Lombardy, equal to 11.7% of the total population. The primary religion is Catholicism. Significant religious minorities include Christian Waldenses, Protestants and Orthodox, as well as Jews, Sikh and Muslims. Economy. As of 2013, the gross domestic products of Lombardy, equal to over €330 billion, accounts for about 20% of the total GDP of Italy. When this measure is considered by inhabitant, it results in a value of €33,066 per inhabitant, which is more than 25% higher than the national average of €25,729. Lombardy's development has been marked by the growth of the services sector since the 1980s, and in particular by the growth of innovative activities in the sector of services to enterprises and in credit and financial services. At the same time, the strong industrial vocation of the region has not suffered. Lombardy remains, in fact, the main industrial area of the country. The presence and development of a very high number of enterprises belonging to the services sector represents a favorable situation for the improvement of the efficiency of the productive process, as well as for the growth of the regional economy. Lombardy is one of the 4 motors for Europe. The region can broadly be divided into 3 areas as regards the productive activity. Milan, where the services sector makes up for 65.3% of the employment, a group of provinces, Varese, Como, Lecco, Bergamo and Brescia, highly industrialized, although in the 2 latter ones, in the plains, there is also a rich agricultural sector. Finally, in the provinces of Sondrio, Pavia, Cremona, Mantova and Lombardy, there is a consistent agricultural activity, and at the same time an above-average development of the services sector. The productivity of agriculture is enhanced by a well-developed use of fertilizers and the traditional abundance of water, boosted since the Middle Ages by the construction of a wide net of irrigation systems. Lower plains are characterized by fodder crops, which are mowed up to 8 times a year, cereals and sugar beet. Productions of the higher plains include cereals, vegetables, fruit trees and mulberries. The higher areas, up to the Prealps and Alps sectors of the north, produce fruit and wine. Cattle, pigs and sheep are raised. Government and politics. The politics of Lombardy take place in a framework of a presidential representative democracy, whereby the president of the region is the head of government, and of a pluriform multi-party system. Executive power is exercised by the regional government. Legislative power is vested in the 80 members regional council. Historically, the Christian Democrats maintained a large majority of the popular support and the control of the most important cities and provinces from the end of the Second World War to the early 1990s. The opposition Italian Communist Party was a considerable presence only in southern Lombardy and in the working-class districts of Milan. The base, however, was increasingly eroded by the rival Italian Socialist Party, until eventually the Mani-Pulite corruption scandal wiped away the old political class and parties almost entirely. This, together with the general disaffection towards the central government, led to the sudden growth of the secessionist Northern League, particularly strong in mountain and rural areas. In the last 20 years, Lombardy stayed as a conservative stronghold, overwhelmingly voting for Silvio Berlusconi in all the 6 last general elections. Notwithstanding the capital city of Milan landslide elected a new progressive mayor at the 2011 municipal elections, and the 2013 regional elections saw a narrow victory for the centre-right coalition. Administrative divisions. The region of Lombardy is divided in 12 administrative provinces and 1,530 communes.